There's a reason that a lot of startup founders are really young. They don't have all the bills, a spouse, kids, responsibilities. They can take the risk. They don't have a big, cushy job that they have to leave to go do this crazy startup thing. Well, when you're trying to hire a CTO or a startup founder, that's part of what you're working against. Like, you're not going to hire somebody who makes $300,000 as a CTO today to come join your startup. We're going to dive into this problem today on the Product Driven episode with Noah Lindner. It's a great episode that you don't want to miss. To survive and thrive, you must adopt a product-driven mindset. And we're back for another episode of Product Driven. This is your host, Matt Watson. Very excited to be joined today by Noah Lindner, who worked at Airbnb, has a lot of background in both product and software engineering, which we know is super important. Also has his own consulting business called 10x Developers. Noah, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks. Happy to be here, Matt.
You know, my first question to you has to be, what in the world is a 10x developer?
I feel like this phrase used to be kind of, I don't know if I'm allowed to use certain language on this podcast, but it had a really bad connotation, sort of like the douche bro energy of tech. And only recently I feel comfortable actually using it in a real business way because of AI. I feel like suddenly it's like people really get it. And frankly, I always thought it was real that like one engineer could be 10 times more productive. It's always been real.
Yeah, it's always been real.
But it was a tough pill, right? Like, you're like, well, what do you mean? If Jeff is 10 times more productive than Bill, then like that makes Bill feel bad. And like, I can't really say that. But I think now companies really get it. And especially on the consulting side, they sort of want to hear that. So when I saw the domain was available, it was a great choice.
But what makes somebody a 10x developer? You know, like, why is this person a 10x developer and somebody else is a negative 10x developer or just a regular developer?
Yeah. I think for me, I have a bunch of theories. Like, the one that I kind of staked my business on was around investing in tools. So the best engineers that I know are not taking shortcuts when it doesn't make sense to. Like, I'm a big pragmatist. I like to take shortcuts. I like to make a 3-hour task, let's say, of filing my taxes. Like, how can I make that take 20 minutes? Is there some way that I can really speed it up? But like, I think the 10x developers that are really great, they are ruthlessly automating their workflows. And there, there's that old XKCD meme about like how when you automate something, you're actually like wasting time because you only do it, once a year or something like that. I feel like it's sort of just the opposite of that, where okay, your CI and coding, where, the time between writing code and then I can see it is like 10 minutes. The best engineers that I know will like attack that and get it down to 2 seconds so that they can just move so much faster. And like, software engineering is a game of seconds, right? Of context switches and stuff like that. So that's what
I'm going to give you my personal opinion, and I'm going to tell you that you're wrong, and that doesn't even matter.
Okay.
Well, my perspective is it's just somebody that knows what needs to be done. They know exactly what needs to be done. They know exactly how to do it, and they can just go do it. There's no bureaucracy. Nobody writes them any requirements. They wake up every day. They know what needs to be done, and they go do it, and it works, and it's awesome. There's no bureaucracy. There's no organizational friction.
But by that logic, like, they don't exist at big companies. They only exist in the startups.
They don't.
I disagree, and I've seen it. Like, I've seen that guy at Airbnb or Stripe that could just take your broken service architecture and actually fix it. Like, I mean, what would take a team years of planning and bureaucracy. Like, and I agree with you. There's so much waste. But like, I have seen it at bigger companies too. So I disagree there.
Well, I mean. Yeah, I mean, definitely if you're solving what are people and process problems and it's like, hey, we hired the wrong people, none of them are going to figure out how to solve this. I figured out how to solve it. I figured out how to automate this thing. Like, for sure, that creates efficiency, but that almost seems like a management and an operational problem that needed to be solved. Let me
give an example if you don't mind. Like, my old mentor, so my favorite engineer, his name's Anton. He worked at Stripe and Chime, and I worked with them at this like medium startup. They had 100 engineers, or I'm sorry, maybe more like 50, 60 engineers. And it was like what I'm saying. CI took 30 minutes. Builds would just break all the time. There was this old Java architecture, and the bundle was like so big it crashed your machine. Like just these real day-to-day engineering problems. And it's a startup, but they still had some process. And you know how it is at a startup. Like there's no one at the top is going to say, hey, let's invest in our tools. Like there's just no business pressure besides the, pain of engineering. And this guy, while building products, like went ahead and redid the entire service architecture. And like, I think those of us that worked around him were sort of like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, what even is this? I was really junior at that time, like 3 years into my career. And like 6 months later, it's done and you see it. And like using these tools, you move 10 times faster, right? I mean, that's a very real example of, it's sort of like in the middle of both of what we're saying. Like they just know what to be do and do it.
Yeah. So what we really want to talk about today is hiring founders and what it's like to hire a technical co-founder, or a CTO or lead developer or founder. And I know this is something that you've been through before, and I've been that technical co-founder before. But to what we've been talking about, most technical founders are these sort of 10x developers, right? And they are that way partly because of the viewpoint I gave earlier of like, they have the product vision, they know it needs to be built, and they just go build it, right? Yeah. They don't sit around waiting for somebody to give them requirements and all this kind of stuff. And, I see some of this, back to the 10x thing a little bit for a second, is, I'll be in meetings and somebody's showing like this workflow diagram about how the software is supposed to work or whatever. And I just look at all of it and I'm like, I could have wrote the code faster than they did this diagram. Like, this is silly. But it's only because I understand what needs to be done and I could just go build it, where they're like, well, I'm not really sure. We need to have all these meetings and we need to all think about all this kind of stuff. Yeah. But the reason that startup founders move fast is like, they just have to figure it out. No, there is nobody coming to help them. Right?
Yeah. I mean, and I think you're saying the good ones, because I'll tell you, I've seen plenty of I have met countless startup founders who bring on an engineer. Maybe they have a bunch of time at Google or MIT. They have a great resume. They build together for 6 months, and then maybe they break up. Something happens, and I look at the code after, and it's like, what did they do for 6 months? Like, what were they doing? So it's a very real thing. I don't think all startup founders bias towards this. I think the successful ones, and if you're a non-technical founder, you have the difficult job of needing to figure that out. It's like, is this potential co-founder able to actually deliver? Which we could talk more about.
Well, I think to me, to really be a true technical co-founder, they've got to have the vision for what's being built. They've got to have the product vision, not just the technical vision, but the product vision. They've got to understand the strategy of the product that we're trying to build, not just like, I don't know, tell me what to build, I'll go code it. Because then they're basically just like a software developer. They're basically just like a lead architect or something. Yeah. To really be a true co-founder of a business, you really should have a higher level product vision. It doesn't mean you can't work the other way, but for it to be successful, the odds are going to go up dramatically. I
agree. Yeah.
The technical co-founder, we're building software for autism or whatever it is, and I found a technical co-founder. His kid has autism. He is passionate about this thing. He has the vision for it, and we're going to go build some cool software. It's way better than like, I don't know, I found some random dude on Upwork and I trying to get him to write some software for me. Like, it's a totally different world.
And I think like a very common failure mode, to your point, is you bring on a technical co-founder and you give them half your business, and then you end up managing them as an engineer. And I think like what sucks about that, the reason that doesn't work, is that if they need management, they're not a co-founder, they're an engineer, which should maybe they're a founding engineer, right? They can get 5% of the business and a decent salary, but it's not who you want on day one necessarily. I agree with you. I think I bias that direction, but I do think it's somewhat rare that a talented software engineer that spent, years highly paid in tech then sort of like decides, I really like product and I really like user experience and customer interviews and sales. Like, that's my bias. So I like that path. I think it's cool, but it's pretty rare from my experience. Like you'll meet a lot of like kind of the scrappy startup engineer who is good at all those non-technical things, but then like kind of is writing bad code. I know a lot of those. And then I also know a lot of the like kind of Google 10 years in a tiny team working on some super deep feature that's like a great engineer. You know, let's say they're L7 at Google, make $1 million a year, but then you put them in a startup and they are struggling to actually ship. I feel like it's somewhat of a unicorn to find both.
But so let me ask you this: so if you were starting a startup, you're starting a technical startup, would you rather hire a developer that's really good at building MVPs and prototypes? Like I can give them some ideas, they ask all the right questions, they go prototype and MVP and build all this stuff. Like the code's not perfect, the code might be, you know, just okay, but they can prototype all this stuff. Versus like I hired this super genius engineer, but I have to really tell them how to do everything, and eventually they figure it all out. Which one do you want to work at your startup?
Really depends, right? This is the first hire.
There's only one answer to this question.
I don't know.
It's like, the first one every time. Because you ran out of money, never shipped a product, you're out of business for the second one.
I see what you're saying. I mean, for me, I bias towards, well, I don't need to hire that first person because I am that first person. But I hear your point.
You are the first person, yes.
Yeah.
But that's the key. It doesn't work without you. It doesn't work without that person. You just proved it.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You've got to have somebody that just knows, like, we got to get something out the door. We got to build a product. We got to ship value to a customer. Like, I can't nerd out about all these low-level engineering things.
I think one thing I wanted to mention is I think the history is somewhat interesting. Like, even 5-10 years ago, the like YC doctrine, which I think is really outdated, but the YC doctrine was like, you have the business co-founder who has like sales and product. Like they own product. Because they're the business side, they understand what needs to be built, and therefore they can like do all this scrum and break down tasks for a technical co-founder who's just like the Richard Hendricks in Silicon Valley. I've been rewatching that archetype of just like brilliant nerd who doesn't really understand business, but it almost doesn't matter because there's such a barrier to entry of shipping software. But I think now that's somewhat changed where any PM can go and do a lovable prototype. So it's no longer like, I would actually push back a little bit that rapid prototyping is the thing. I think it's like scalable prototyping where I'm writing, like right now I'm working on a MVP and I'm sitting here like, damn, do I really have to build X like 3-day project that's going to really slow me down? Does that really move the needle? And it's a real question because if I just scrap it together and we have any success, I'm going to have to go and rebuild the entire thing. So I think there's something there around how the game has sort of changed. And and to your point, like it's easy to do like the IC level work now. That's like commodified. You can go outsource an engineer for pretty cheap to just write code. But what's harder is like connecting business to that software.
Well, back to your point about you need both people, right? You need somebody who understands the business and the product, and then you need somebody that can help bring that product to life, right? Like how do we actually deliver the technology to go do this? And of course, the answer, is wildly different from one industry to another, but a lot of the people that are starting companies are starting deep vertical products, products like Slack and Airbnb and, all these things get all the headlines, but like 90% of businesses are in some weird niche somewhere that you've never heard of. You wouldn't even know these companies exist. Or like, oh, we do lead gen for florists that are trying to sell flowers. And then they're like, we're building technology and a product for that. Like it's all these sort of things that you would never even know exist, right? And because of that business person and their industry knowledge is super valuable. They're like, I understand the floral industry. I have all the connections. I know how to sell this thing. I just need a product to sell. I need somebody to help me get to build the product, right? But that doesn't mean that when you don't want a strong technical founder that can't jump in and be like, oh, well, I've used lots of CRM products before. I've used lots of inventory management products before. I've worked on products like that. I understand what we need to build. I understand the vision of like how to build product, how to build technology, and how to solve business problems. that can think at that higher level, right? They can drive the product side of it. Like, yes, this business person has the product vision at the highest level probably, but that doesn't mean they don't need the technical founder to be able to slot in and like quickly co-create that with them.
Yeah, what you're saying is like if they're just writing code, they're not a good co-founder. They need to be at least able to like connect the dots. They need to here's the high level product vision, but I know I need a onboarding flow and this button looks bad. They need to be able to kind of like independently drive some product is kind of your point.
Yeah, and so in my book, in the product driven book, I talk about there's 4 different engineering roles. You have strategy, operations, product, and technical. I believe those are the 4 different roles that you have, right? And if I'm hiring a technical co-founder, the 2 that are most important to me are product and technical. Mm-hmm. We'll worry about operations issues later. When we have 5 to 10 employees and we have all these operational issues, we'll hire a VP of engineering. We'll hire somebody that'll help shore that up. If they're not an expert at strategy, that's okay. We're a small company. We don't have hundreds of employees. Like we don't have these like crazy strategy issues. I didn't hire you to help me figure out how to do mergers and acquisitions or all this crazy stuff. I just need you to build a product and get it to market. Like product needs to be a key focus. Like if I'm hiring a technical co-founder or a CTO, from my perspective, I think product is critical. And
Matt, I'm curious, like, do you find that that's somewhat of a rare trait in engineers? Because I'll tell you, I don't see much of us. There are some, but it's few. Like my favorite engineers, almost none of them are really even interested in product.
I think it is rare. I think the people like me and you might be a little more of the purple squirrel, but I think it is the reason that we are this way is you go back 20 years ago, 25 years ago, everything changed. When I started my career 25 years ago, there was no product team. Like product didn't exist. You talked to a software developer, told them about your problem, they figured out how to engineer a solution and they delivered it. And then 15 or 20 years ago, we had this great idea of stripping all that responsibility away from the engineers, right? We created product teams. And then we made all the engineers be order takers. And now we have a bunch of engineers that don't understand product.
Yeah.
Or they want to understand product and they work at a company that just doesn't allow them to. You worked at Airbnb. How did you deal with this at Airbnb? Were you the guy that always wanted to do more and they're like, stand in line, go do your requirements, stop asking questions?
How did you know that?
How did that play out?
No, literally just like that. And that was one of my, I try not to say anything bad about Airbnb because it's a really great name on my resume, but I was really frustrated with exactly that. And I agree with you.
And I wrote a book about this problem.
should read your book.
What product driven is about this problem.
I would add a little bit onto it. I think you're right. And to me, like it's part of it is sales too. Like I can't tell you how many teams I've been on in small companies, agile, like true agile, fast moving companies that the engineers and the product team, like EPD is now called, right? Engineer product design, is just like isolated from sales, which is to me bizarre because there's your user feedback right there. Oh, what do you think of this demo that we built? I have to set up a meeting with the sales team and there's only one sales guy who's even allowed to talk to product. And there's like 3 hoops you have to jump through even to get that information. Sitting from the outside looking in, it's like, well, why wouldn't they just be on the call? Like as an engineer, I actually want to understand business. Most engineers that I know, they may not care about product or sales in principle, but when they're deep in a project, they're hungry for that type of context.
You would think most of them want feedback about if their work matters.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And that's one of the things that I talk a lot about in the book. It's like, you don't need your software engineers aren't going to become salespeople. They're not going to be customer success people. They're not marketing people, right? They're still software engineers, but they need to understand, why are we building this? Give me more context. Tell me why it matters. It helps motivate me.
Yeah.
Give me a little bit of space to help co-create what we're going to do. So I feel some ownership in it. Right. And then tell me if it mattered. Like I spent weeks on this thing. We shipped it to the customers. Even if it's a big business like Airbnb and maybe you never really talk to customers, but somebody else in the business come back to you and be like, hey, you guys did a great job with this because of this, bookings went up or this thing or cancellations went down or we got more revenue or whatever. Like Motivate the team. Tell the team
Yeah.
why their work matters and how it had an impact. Like,
Or also, let's say you spent a year building a product. It's 80% there, but
and then they throw it away.
or there's a 20% wrong. The sales team knows why. The sales team, oh yeah, it's because you guys messed up this part of the app. Like, if there was just communication, they could probably salvage it, but often the product gets canceled because, oh, it wasn't a good enough product, or it wasn't product market fit. It's like, well, part of getting product market fit is actually user interviews, and right. So I think that's missing in a lot of tech companies.
So we might be purple squirrels, but when you were at Airbnb, there were probably other people like you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There were some people that are like, just tell me what to do. I don't really care. I'm going to collect my paycheck and I'm out of here and I don't really care. Whatever. Just tell me.
100%. Yeah.
There's some of those people. Now, they would be more motivated if leadership would help do these things, right? They'd be more motivated. They would care more if they knew that their work mattered. But then there's somebody like you that's probably a little more vocal. And you're like, well, I still spoke up. I still asked.
Yeah. 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 I mean, frankly, it got me in trouble most of my career. Well, I think now it's great. Now I'm proud of my skill set. I feel like I've been trained by bureaucracy to know what not to do. But if you're trying in 2016, if you're trying to get promoted at Airbnb, like, just write a lot of code, show up to meetings on time, be visible, and kind of sit back. And if you stay there for 5 years, you'll get rich, really rich. And I could never do that.
So you clearly have the DNA to potentially be a startup founder. Have you thought about being a startup founder? Have you ever been a co-founder of anything in the past?
Yeah, I ran a travel booking startup in 2018. We made like 30K in profit. That was fun. Learned a lot. I consider my consulting business a startup of sorts. I've gotten to learn a ton about sales, so that's been fun. And I'm always meeting with non-technical founders and sort of like considering the jump again. I'm gainfully unemployed right now, except for this consulting business. So frankly, there's a lot on the startup side that's just so alluring. Like, I think something that I struggle with right now is that the consulting business is really alluring because it can pay a lot. You can really see a path to making a lot of money. And you get no ownership. You don't really get to...
You're still selling your time.
You're selling your time. You're selling everything you write is not yours. So yes, I think about it often.
So one of the biggest problems I see is you have somebody like yourself. You're like, man, I'd love to start my own startup. I know how to build software. Like, I feel confident I could build anything that needs to be built, but I just don't have I don't have the right ideas.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is where we still need like the Winklevosses and the Zuckerbergs to get together, right? For you, the challenge forever probably is like, well, how do I find the right idea? Or how do I find a co-founder that has a great business idea and just needs me to help bring it to life, right? Is that the challenge?
Yeah, and I have some thoughts there, if you don't mind me jumping into it. Like, one resource that I think like everyone in our boat should do, if you're interested, is like go on YC co-founder matching, and just like, it's like Tinder for co-founders.
You just swipe right on every single person?
Definitely don't do that.
Tinder.
But like, I will say, well, yeah, basically, I have learned so much from those calls. I've probably taken like 50 like dates on there, and of them, like 10 have been really high value connections that I still keep up with. So that's like a great resource. I feel like it sort of solves the problem that we're talking about to some extent, or it can help solve it. But most engineers that I know really struggle to vet a startup. And honestly, I don't have a great answer. Like, how do you know if some idea is good? I think, like, for me, the big thing is traction. Like, if they're a non-technical founder, they should be able to sell it from day one. They should, ideally, they come from an industry that they have deep context in the problem that they're trying to solve. Yeah. So that, like, you're not cool, month one of our startup, we have no money and we're just testing stuff. Like, that to me is a recipe for, I mean, if you're in your early 20s and you just want to do that, great, go for it. But for me, like, I don't really have time to spend years like testing. If I'm going to partner with someone, I really want to be, okay, your idea is solid and I like can see how it has legs. I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, and then we're on to the next problem, which you wrote a viral LinkedIn post about, which is how I met you was, even you're like, okay, I'm running this consulting business. I'm just going to throw some numbers out there. It's like, hey, I'm making 200 grand, 300 grand a year, whatever. Life is good. I like doing this. And then somebody comes to you like, hey, be my co-founder. Yeah, I can't pay you anything, but I need you to come be the co-founder of my company. Like, yeah, how does that work? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, like, why would I say yes?
Yeah, I mean, you want to do it. You're like, I want to be a co-founder. I want to start my own business. But I also know, SaaS companies never really make any money till a long time. Usually takes a long time. 90% of them fail. And this is going to be really hard. And my wife told me we really shouldn't do this because she likes my $300,000 a year job.
Yep.
What do you do? How do you navigate this?
Yeah.
This is the problem, right?
It's a real problem. And the other, to even add fuel to the fire, most of my friends, the most talented engineers that would make great co-founders, they really have the golden handcuffs. Like, they are of no interest in
like my Microsoft
it.
stock is locked up and it's going to be worth 500 grand in another 5 years. They keep giving me all these options.
I have a friend who was at Cruise working on their like auth. Cruise got shuttered. Like it's the team is gone, but they held on to some part of the tech. He's making like 500K. He hated it. He would make an amazing co-founder, but like, how can you convince someone like that to join you? And yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think for me, what I've come to is I can't do anything else. I have tried. I've really tried again and again to, just join a tech company, collect a salary. I got really into pottery and ceramics. We have cats. We're gonna have kids soon. Like, try to just focus on that. It doesn't work for me. I have the bug. I just love this stuff too much. I love to build.
And I think a little bit too, it's why we see a lot of younger people that are startup founders, right? It's like they have nothing to lose. They still live in their mother's basement, whatever. And I mean, that was me. When I started my first company, I was 22 years old. Now, I was married. I had my own place. And the way that I did this is I worked my other full-time job for like a year and a half or so, while basically working nights and weekends on my new company. I even convinced my boss to let me work 30 hours a week. I got up at 6 a.m. I worked 6 a.m. to noon every day so I could work 30 hours a week, and then went home and worked from basically 1 o'clock at night till bedtime every single day.
Yep.
And then got the business to a place where I could make enough money that I could quit the job.
Yeah.
But it was the best thing I ever did. But it was hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. And I don't know, I mean, for me, I would really struggle with that. Like, I always thought about that. Oh, if I get this nice cushy tech job, then I could moonlight. But like, just knowing myself, it's really difficult when you're not waking up in the morning. Like, what is the one thing I have to do today? Like, if that's like, well, I have to ship 2 things at work, attend a few meetings, go to the gym, pick up my kid from daycare, and then think about my other business. Like, it's just not realistic for me. I think maybe some people like you have done it, but it's difficult.
Well, I was a lot younger then. It's a little harder now for sure. But I think point being, like, I think I can relate why there's a lot of startup founders that are younger. Like, they don't have all these responsibilities or the bills, right? You're like, hey, I have to make 300 grand a year now because I've got kids, I've got the mortgage, I've got all the things. Like, I can't take the risk. I can't do this. So, well, I hope one day, Noah, you figure it out, and I'm rooting for you. Figure out how to moonlight or kind of do 2 things at a time. Hopefully you'll figure it out. So thank you so much for being on the show today. And I'm glad you wrote that viral post and was able to join me.
Great. Thanks so much, Matt.
All right. Thank you, guys. And if you haven't yet, definitely pick up a copy of Product Driven. You can find it on Amazon. It was the best-selling software development book at launch, and pretty cool. And Noah, I'm definitely going to send you a copy. And thank you, guys. And we'll see you on the next one. Before we wrap up today's episode, we have a special resource for you if you're looking to elevate your development team to have more of a product-driven mindset. I have a fantastic free ebook about turning your code-first team into a product-first team. please go to fullscaleteam.com/product-first-teams to download this free ebook. There's also a link in the show notes. Thanks for listening to Product Driven, and we'll see you in the next episode.